From my perch in Canada, I have spent the better part of the past decade watching a country I long admired unravel in front of the world. Its discourse fractured, its dignity eroded, its people pitted against one another with the fervor of ideologues. I have written, commented, challenged and mourned, not because I am American, but because I care deeply about the ideals America once stood for. I have no skin in the game, save for family, friends, and a stubborn faith in reason. What I witnessed during the trial of a former president, already long out of office at the time, did not resemble justice. It resembled production, a political stage play complete with emotionally primed footage and a media apparatus eager to keep alarm bells ringing. The suggestion that Trump supporters required deprogramming as though their minds had been hijacked revealed far more about the accusers than the accused. The people I observed, the followers, were not mindless. They were frustrated, engaged, and convinced, rightly or wrongly, that a businessman might disrupt a system that had quietly abandoned them. January 6 became the media's golden goose. Loop it, frame it as existential threat, package it for consumption. Meanwhile, those who once preached unity now refine division into habit. What I saw was not democracy healing. It was democracy hemorrhaging and edited nightly. The MAGA message itself was never complicated. It was not about hate. It was about a family, a home, a good job, a law-abiding neighborhood, the freedom to pursue without apology, choice of beliefs, religion, pride, not the curated kind, but the earned kind. Yet this was flattened into caricature, dismissed by people unwilling to even consider that millions of Americans might simply want a better life without being lectured for it by mainstream media. The contradiction was everywhere. George Floyd became both villain and saint, depending on which narrative was required that day. I watched the footage, I rewatched it. What I saw was not politics but tragedy. A sick, addicted man pleading for air, silence beneath a badge meant to protect his past did not sentence him to death. A political statement meant to deflect reality did. Pretending otherwise suggests moral fraud.
I have spoken out, commenting about electric cars, about the illusion of clean energy without consequence, about blind faith in modern progress divorced from long-term cost. I have questioned racial discourse where every statistic becomes a weapon and every incident a symbol. And when I raised these questions, as I did often, the response was rarely curiosity. It was insults followed by read a book, do your research. Well, I had all along, and what followed was never engagement. It was retreat. Because when research contradicted the approved conclusion, the conversation ended. That pattern is what I call Wuhan bat blind, not ignorance. Not stupidity, a reflexive blindness, the inability to see the forest for the trees, a conditioned response where deviation is treated as defect and certainty is rewarded only when it aligns. America, as I see it, is not divided by race. It is divided by culture, perception, and trust, or more accurately, the erosion of trust. When discipline is removed, when victimhood is elevated to virtue, when policing becomes political theater, institutions decay. Fear replaces order, optics replace truth. My view is not clouded by color. It is shaped by decades of travel, conversation, and observation. I have walked streets most will not. I have shared tables with strangers. I have never feared someone because of their skin, but I have watched fear sold for ratings and truth trimmed to fit a narrative. Then came the years that clarified everything. The investigations, the DOJ gauntlet, charges laid upon charges, often built on legal novelty rather than moral clarity. For most politicians, it would have ended a career. Instead, it exposed the machinery. People watched predictions collapse. Headlines retracted quietly. Institutions demanded trust while behaving untrustworthily. They also watched resilience. When Donald Trump returned as the 47th president, it was not a coronation. It was a rebuke, a rejection of smoke and mirrors governance, of moral exhibitionism, of a democratic platform built on distortion, selective outrage, and managed perception. His return was not about personality. It was about correction. Borders mattered again. Energy realism returned. Foreign posture recalibrated. Not miracles, but direction. That is why the cult accusation fails. His supporters did not stay because they were hypnotized. They stayed because they recognized manipulation. Loyalty, in this context, was not obedience. It was resistance.
Resistance. Yes, resistance is what brings me back to my perch here in Canada. From here I turn direction and see a country sliding into an irreversible bath. The hell in a handbasket not so far away. Centralized authority. Managed speech. Expanding bureaucracy. Shrinking tolerance for what is now called dissent. We are following a past similar script, only without the constitutional ballast to resist it. Watching America correct course has forced an uncomfortable but almost inevitable conclusion. Remove the blinders of ignorance. For the first time, maybe the first time ever, it feels like the swamp is not being renamed or rebranded, but cleaned enough to expose the bottom, not fully. Clean, not fully. Pure. Not finished as yet, but no longer untouchable. And that matters, because it sets a stage where the future is no longer prescripted by institutions that answer only to themselves. If choosing between systems, between futures, between cultures, why wouldn't it make sense to align with the most successful constitutional republic the world has ever produced? I can see it plainly. A crossroad with directional signs in place. Choosing to become the 51st state of the United States of America would not be out of novelty. Not out of rebellion, but out of alignment with free speech, with skepticism of power, and with a system capable of self-correction rather than permanent supervision. This is not about Trump anymore. It is about decency and honesty. Everyone's absolute honesty. And rejecting the lie that one side owns virtue. A need to be wary of anyone who claims moral superiority while silencing disagreement. To my American neighbors, you have a nation worth saving, as more of you are discovering. And lately, you have reminded the world that it is and will remain a country of the greatest magnitude. I am choosing. from across the border. Brotherhood, nationhood. God bless America.